Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm putting together my August TBR, and I've decided to do things a little bit more loose, try to leave myself a little more space for mood reading in August, because I did have a much more structured TBR in July, because I had a couple of specific projects I was working on, but that really helped me get out of my slump, like Summerween, and then this video I'm currently still working on, that's the Jacob Prompts vlog. Those have really helped me kind of claw my way out of the reading slump I've been in this year, so I'm really glad that I had that structured TBR in July, and now that I'm feeling a little more motivation generally, I have a few things I'd like to get to in August, so that's why I'm trying to keep it a little more loose and have more space for mood reading next month. It is currently like mid to late July as I'm filming this, but we're going to be traveling to visit my partner's family for his grandfather's birthday, so just doing a little bit of pre-filming to get ahead of things. So, as usual, we'll start with the things that I am definitely going to be reading, the sort of must-read books, because I have a couple of arcs for August that I am extremely excited about. Two of my most anticipated releases for the year are coming out in August. So the first one is A Trade of Blood by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the third book in the Shadow of the Leviathan series, also I think sometimes referred to as the Anna and Din mysteries, but this one is a like fantasy murder mystery series following Anna and Din, who are a sort of Sherlock and Watson kind of duo in a place called I think it's the Empire of Canaan, and they are traveling to all the various cantos in the Empire and solving mysteries in each one, and I just really like all of the varied environments and the interesting kind of sci-fantasy mutations that some of the characters have. I just think it's a really interesting world, and I absolutely love this series, so I'm very excited to be diving into book 3, especially with some of the big revelations that came out of the end of book 2. The other arc I have, I am delighted to say, is the first ever arc I have received physically after having received an email from the publisher like, hey, would you like a physical arc? That has never happened to me before. I've had one previous physical arc that I won in a giveaway. So this is extremely exciting, and even more exciting because it's The Silent Appeal by Janice Hallett, which is, as I said, another one of my most anticipated releases for the year. I love Janice Hallett. She's probably one of my favorite currently writing mystery writers, and I just love the way that she uses mixed media to tell these mystery stories. There's always a lot of like reading between the lines to figure out what's happening, and this one is returning back to Lower Lockwood from her first book, The Appeal, and seeing yet another mystery happening with the Fairway Players. And I'm just so excited. It's such a messy group of people, and I really enjoyed the dynamics there. I'm also interested to see how this one reads in comparison to The Appeal, because that one was primarily like emails. It was just like everybody emailing each other, and this one I think is going to draw more from a variety of different types of media, emails, but also WhatsApp and scripts and flyers and that kind of thing, which is what her later books have also done. So I am so excited to dive into this one, and I'm glad that we are finally getting to a point where I can read it, because the publisher for this one, Atria Books, they're one of the publishers that prefer when you review things as close to the release date as possible. So I have just been like vibrating to get my hands on this one, and I'm so excited to pick it up. So very glad that we are finally coming around to August and I can finally read it. The rest of the books I have here are mostly just like either books I've started that I'm kind of carrying over, or books that have just been kind of on my mind as something I want to get to. So I think my one carryover is The Reformatory by Tanana Reeve-Dew. I started this one for Summerween and then just decided that trying to race through it for a readathon was not going to be the best way for me to read this book, because I was immediately really hooked in by the characters and the story, but I could also tell this was going to be a lot harder hitting, more poignant and emotional than I was originally anticipating. Even knowing what the content of the book was about, I just was like a little unprepared, so I wanted to give myself plenty of time and space to read this one, and I'm continuing on with it going into August. I just don't think I'm going to get to it by the end of July, but this one is following these two kids who their mother has died, their father has fled to Chicago after being a kind of outcast by the local community, and the younger brother does something that gets him sent off to a reformatory. This is set in, I think, 50s or 60s Florida. 50s Florida. And so, still kind of in the Jim Crow era. He gets sent to this reformatory, and it's about him trying to survive there while spooky things are happening, in addition to the kind of general cruelty of the place, while his older sister is trying to figure out how to free him from the school. So I'm really excited to continue reading this one. I was really enjoying Tanana Reeve-Dew's writing in this, and I think it's going to be a really impactful read. Next up, we have The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. I've just been meaning to get to this one for a little while now. I read the previous book, what is it? Before They're Hanged. I read that back in, I think, December for Reindeer Readathon, and it had me hooked from the first page to the last. I cried multiple times, and so I felt like I just needed a little bit of like emotional space from the previous book before I continued on in the series. That said, I really want to continue because I'm really enjoying the First Law trilogy, and I am excited to get to like the standalones in the second trilogy, and eventually get to the Devils, because that does also now have a sequel coming out. I know The Devils is unconnected. I just felt like I wanted to read his work kind of chronologically, because I've heard that it just like gets better and better as you go along. So that's kind of my plan. I feel like it's time for me to finally get back to this series, and I'm so excited to be getting to the end of this trilogy, is what I'm trying to say. I'm so excited, I can't speak. Yeah, I just absolutely love the characters. I have no idea where the plot's going, but I'm so excited to find out, and I do feel like it is finally time to pick this one up and see what happens to all of the characters in this one, because I've grown very fond of all of the characters, even though some of them are kind of terrible people. I'm really interested to see where they all end up. Then we have a book that's been on a number of TBRs, which is Strange Buildings by Yuketsu. Bought this earlier this year. It's, as I said, been on quite a few TBRs throughout the year, but it just sounds like a lot of fun, and I do already have one other kind of mixed media book on my list, so I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is my chance to get it in and actually read it. I've been very interested in this one, and I just have not managed to either pick it up because of the slump or to fit it into some of my other plans. So hopefully I can get to this one going into August, and I'm just really intrigued to see if I end up liking this more than I liked Strange Houses, because I loved Strange Pictures, and then Strange Houses just felt a little bit flat for me, but it looks like maybe this one is fixing some of the issues I had there, as we're looking at the plans for, I think it's 11 different buildings, and it looks like it's maybe going to save it, sort of like wrapping everything up for the end. So I'm really interested to see if I end up liking this more than Strange Houses. And then finally, I have a book I just picked up, which is Never Whistle at Night, an Indigenous dark fiction anthology edited by Shane Hawk and Theodore C. Van Alst Jr. This one, I've seen a few different people talk about it and have very positive things to say about the stories in this collection. And my partner and I were at Barnes & Noble, and Jacob picked it up and was like, oh, this kind of sounds interesting. And I was looking at another book on this table, which is somewhere down here. This one? Nope, not that one. They had their like buy one get one half off, and Bone of My Bone by Joanna Van Veen was on that table. I was kind of interested in this because I kind of want to do something with medieval horror for spooky season this year. So I picked that one up, and I was like, I don't know, I can't find anything else on this table. Never Whistle at Night was also on the table, and Jacob discovered it, and he said he was also kind of interested in it, but he wasn't sure if he wanted to buy it for himself. So I bought both of them, and I want to get to this one so that Jacob can pick it up, because he decided he wanted to let me read it first before he picks it up, because he's not been reading as much this year. So I'd really like to get to this one so that he can get a chance to read it too. And I also kind of want to get back to something I was doing a couple of years ago when I was doing my grad program. I had like a month or so where I was every day waking up a little bit early for work and spending like half an hour reading a short story out of Zin Cho's Spirits Abroad collection, which I ended up absolutely loving. And I really enjoyed that. I liked how that started my day off on like a positive note, where I had something new I had read and had, the time traveling to work, traveling to my classes to think about it. And I really enjoyed that, and I kind of want to try doing that again. I don't have a lot of anthologies on my shelves, but I do have this one, and I think up here somewhere I have River of Bones by Rebecca Roanhorse. So I have a couple of short story collections, and I kind of want to try doing that again. So Never Whistle at Night is going on my TBR for that purpose. I'm going to see if I can start trying to like get up a little bit earlier and to just do my like little few minutes of reading to read a single story, and just have that to kind of chew on for the rest of the day. So that's the plan there, and I'm very excited about this. I have heard some great things about this collection, and there's a few authors here that I've read from before and love, and there's a few authors here I've been interested in trying something from, so I feel like it's going to be a really interesting mix, and I'm excited to try particularly the new authors, just to see how I feel about their writing, and then, that's other books that I can seek out if I end up enjoying those stories. So, these are all of the books that I'm planning to read in August. Let me know down in the comments below what you're planning to read in August, and particularly, what's your book you're most excited for in the coming month? I would love to hear about it, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting at least once a week, and I hope to see you in the next video.